let me just quickly get my things in order. Okay, excellent. So my screen's being shared. I have my chat open, and let me just find my session here. All right. I've got so many screens open that it kind of gets a little bit confusing. Alrighty, great. So you are here today because you wanted to learn a bit of sketchnoting. So I'm gonna give you a bit of an introduction to me, if you don't know me by now. So I'm Chantal, and I'm joined by my partner Johan, and I kind of started out when I finished school. I was convinced I was going to study art, and through discussions with my father, he said, well, you know, you can choose art, but you're going to be poor for the rest of your life. And I think that just reinforced my previous art scars. So I just want to start by saying this is not going to be an art class. So the objective isn't drawing artistically. The objective is capturing concepts by using sketch notes. Now, if you, and I'll quickly give you a little bit of introduction. So, you know, this is kind of me. You know, I've in my menopause, I've started coloring my hair all kinds of funny colors. This is one of my favorite things. And this is one of my favorite things. And this is one of my favorite things. Let's just pretend those are some chopsticks there, a nice little bowl of rice. And then my other favorite things in my life is my family. So you can see if I had to write this out and explain that to you, that would have taken a lot longer than these little doodles that I'm making. And, you know, I could go and, you know, draw a beautiful, you know, three-dimensional glass of wine, and I could go and add some color to it. But you pretty much got it the first time you got it. So I think the realization for me in using sketch notes is that I could really shorten my note taking. I could increase my attention span, and generally I just remember things a lot better. So one of the links I'm going to send to you after this call is a video by Dan Rowe. He remains like one of my absolute favorite guys. I've got a whole lot of his books here. He wrote this book called The Back of the Napkin. He's got a great website, and I would recommend that you go and find more videos online of what Dan Rowe does. So I want to play you a short clip from a video of his, and I'm playing you this because I kind of felt I don't want to steal his stuff. So it's not that I didn't prepare, but I thought let's just do the experiment that he's doing. So just maybe you can just help me, give me a thumbs up if you can hear the video. I'm not sure what happens to the sound when we play the video. So let's just see. All right, so he's going to give us a little bit of a test. So watch my screen and just play along with this.
It's a very simple test. I don't want anyone to stress out. There's no passing or failing in this test. All that's going to happen is I'm going to show you 30 random images. And I know they're random because all I did was go on Google Images and download the first 30 images that I saw. They're just 30 random images. I'm going to show them to you. We're going to look at them. The thing is, I don't want you to try to memorize them or maybe write down what they are. You won't have time. I just want you to look at them because we're going to go through each one. I'm going to give you about a quarter of a second. We're just going to go through really, really fast looking at these images. So is everybody ready to look at some pictures? All right, up at the screen, we take a breath, and here we go. Okay. Can anybody tell us all 30 of those pictures in order? What did we just look at? Well, of course we can't. All right, so I want to forget about that.
All right, so I'm going to come back to this a little bit later, but let's just quickly get a sense from you. What are your challenges related to sketching? And I'm going to just unmute everyone for a minute here, and maybe let's just go around and let's just get an idea of what your challenges are related to this. And maybe, you know, you were very curious by attending this class today. So what would you like to get from it? And I've unmuted you, and maybe we can go. I'll say your name from the top of the screen, and then you can just tell me kind of what's your challenges and what would you like to get from today. So let's go with Malaika first.
So I sit in a lot of meetings, and some of the notes I get, some I don't get. I feel that my train of thought is going somewhere else. So just to make my life simpler, easier, more efficient.
All right, stunning. Okay, Natasha, let's hear from you.
For me, I was curious because I'm a really horrible drawer. So I thought if my little stick figures could gain a little bit more dimension, that would be really cool.
All right, excellent. So I'll show you some tricks that you can do related to that. All right, and Yvonne, let's hear from you.
Hi, Chantal and everyone. Okay, so for me, it's really to learn to be creative and innovative through drawing. When I try it, I'm way too detailed and I get caught up in the moment of just sketching. It's too much and then I lose it.
Yeah, and I think you know, at school we were taught the right way and the wrong way. And I think in this particular kind of school of thought, there is no wrong way. An object needs to look about 20% like the actual object, and then your brain will recognize it. And that's the magic of this. I think very often when I started to do my my keynote conference presentations by doing sketch notes, you know, the first time I drew it, I thought this is not good enough. You know, people are just going to laugh. They could think it's you know, it's kind of, you know, those little stick figures that kids draw. And I think, you know, I've learned through the probably 18 months now that I've been practicing with this, that it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. So let's hear from Johan.
I love sketchnoting. I've used it before. I sometimes get lazy. I think that's my challenge, because you have to build up some kind of a library in your own head of things that you can quickly grab if it's a folder or whether you have to draw a banknote or whatever. You have to have that little library, and I think for me there's a little bit of effort in building up that library, and that's sort of holding me back.
All right, stunning, Johan. Thank you. Hi, Howard. Welcome to the session today. You've got your kids around you like we do today. Hey, amazing. All right, Howard, maybe we just quickly went around and just chatted about what is our challenges related to sketchnoting. So whether you are doing it right now or whether you're thinking about doing it, you know, what are some of the challenges that you face?
Yeah, do you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Sure. Some of the challenges that I face, I guess, is the repetitive patterns that I do. I have no formal training when it comes to visual sketch note taking. I just do it for fun. Yeah. All
right, stunning. All right, so let's carry on. And the first thing I want to show you is, and I'm going to kind of start with quite a basic base to just get everybody kind of up to the same level. And I think one of the things is building up that that kind of visual vocabulary. And I find, I find it very relaxing in the evenings to actually go and look through Pinterest, and I'll show you some of the Sketchnote libraries that I've got in Pinterest. But I think, just taking some complex concepts and unpacking that. So let's quickly start with a square. And we can, let me just go back to my black here. So if we think about all the things we can do with a square, because I think the Sketchnote, they just start with basic shapes. All right, so let's get an idea in the chat. Type for me what you think we can do with a square. And then that gives me time to think, okay, so a square, if we combine that with a triangle and some other shapes, we can do a house. All right. Okay, so we can do a holder. All right, so let's just do we can do a box. Okay, that can hold things, those nice little IKEA boxes. Yeah, we can do a gift. And again, if you look at this gift, our inclination is, it needs to be three-dimensional, and it needs to have a fancy ribbon and a fancy ribbon. But you can see that this one was much faster than that one. All right. So that gives us an idea of, what we can do with a square. All right, let's see what we can do with a circle. Give me a few things there in the chat. What can we do with a circle? Okay, we can do a circle, happy face. All right. We can do a sad face. Okay. How about okay, what is that? Orange. Okay. We can do a sun. All right, so you get the idea. Then if we start putting some shapes together, okay, so let's take, my favorite thing that I was speaking about earlier. So I can have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee.
Chantal, sorry, we can't, you're drawing outside the screen.
All right, sorry, there we go. Thanks, Johan. Hi, Howard's little princess. Look at that. Oh, she's gonna draw with us. All right, so there's my cup of tea. Okay, I can also take the same cup and I can create some kind of a cup that I can give to someone for an award that they won. All right, so it's really just getting used to those basic shapes. Often in meetings, I'll show you a little bit of a structure that I use, but in meetings, there's usually a lot of paper. All right. So I love doing these little pages, and by just making a little corner here, there, it looks like it's flipped up. All right. Then if I want to indicate there's multiple pages, I can literally just do that. Then something else we can do with these kind of shapes is, and this we get a lot, is a computer screen. And you can very easily make a computer screen kind of look a little bit three-dimensional by giving it just some shading onto the screen. All right. Great. So let's do a triangle. What do you think are the things we can do with a triangle? All right, we can do a triangle. We can do a pot with some flowers. So let's draw, Yvonne, I love that. Let's do some flowers there. Okay, let's imagine it's a very, very interesting skew pot. All right, we can do, oh, Johan, we can do a bicycle. Okay, how can I do Big Ben? Okay, let's do a little flag. Okay. If we do a bicycle, Johan, I think this is what the bicycle one looks like. There we go. So we use some, okay, something like that. All right. The other thing that's really cool related to a triangle that we use a lot in business is when I'm talking about achieving some kind of a goal, I can very easily use kind of a mountain range to illustrate the metaphor of I'm going somewhere. All right. And maybe that's my goal that I want to achieve. And there's a way to get there. And sometimes it's kind of a long, winding road in order to get there. The other thing we use in business a lot is the concept of a diamond. So when we talk about, making a promise to someone, or, looking for the gems. So I think it's very much around the metaphor and being able to illustrate with that metaphor. All right, so now we get to the fun part of drawing people. All right, so my earliest recollection of drawing people was something like this. And Howard, you can ask your daughter to help us here. Okay, did your people also look something like that? I love looking back at my kids early years drawings. All right, so that's one way to draw a person. Let's focus on the body first, and then I'm going to come back to the face. All right, so let me show you a few ways to draw a person. So the easiest way to draw a person without a lot of detail is just to make the body, almost like a inverted U shape and give it a head. So that is the easiest way to draw a person. Also, when you want to draw a whole lot of people, you can just do that. And very quickly, you've got a group of people there. If you want to draw even more people, you just draw a crowd there and just draw some more heads. All right, and all of a sudden, you've got a whole lot of people there. Now, the big mistake we make with faces. So if I look at this person's face, the biggest mistake we make with faces is we tend to put the eyes too high on the face. All right. If we look at our dimensions of our human face, the eyes are almost in the middle of our face. So this guy kind of looks like he's looking upwards because his eyes are so high on his face. Also, depending on facial expressions and depending on the age, the eyes might be even lower for a child. All right. And then by adding eyebrows, I can very quickly give some expression to this. So if I make my eyes like that, or if I make my eyes like that, a little bit of a surprised look, a little bit of a inquisitive look. If I want a peaceful look, I can do that. And very often we try and put way too much detail into the face of the people that we're drawing. Just by adding some eyes here, I can kind of see where this person is looking. I can see quite a bit of emotion happening here. And I don't really need to add a nose or a mouth. I could if I wanted to. And again, just going with a very little detail gives me the ability to create quite a bit of expression. All right, so now we've gone for a really simple, kind of just a little figure like that. All right, now I haven't added any arms to this person yet. And again, what really helps me when I work with people is I actually, you know, when I'm drawing, maybe not in a meeting, but when I'm drawing, sometimes I just move my arms. I just think about my own body, and then I create expression. So if I'm thinking hard, you know, I might be scratching my head, you know, and my other arm might just be on my side or resting on my table. So I literally, when I draw people, I literally just, you know, just make my arms quite flexible without kind of complicating it. So let's, before we go on to a little bit more sophisticated people. So typically when I land in a meeting, I'm just going to create a new page for us. When I land in a meeting, and let's say I'm meeting with five people, I would very quickly, instead of you know, creating a lot of written minutes, I would very quickly say, all right, so I'm in the meeting with Bob. I'm in the meeting with Sally. Okay, I've got Johan, and I've got myself, and maybe we've got a guy there who's like quite a senior guy, and his name is Bill. All right, so there I've immediately created a list of who's in the meeting. Let's say we go around and say, what is our expectations of the meeting? Okay, and Bob says, you know what, I'd like to get an action plan out of this, you know, and Sally says, well, you know what, I would like to get us all to be aligned on what we're trying to achieve in this meeting. Johan might say, you know what, we need to really start sharing information here. So there's my little information sign. And, you know, I would say, listen, we're here to actually, let's make some decisions. Yes or no? Are we gonna proceed with this? What is the route we're gonna take after this meeting? So you can see very, very quickly, you know, by just having a vocabulary for the type of things people want from meetings, you know, you can actually quite quickly create a little framework here for you that'll help you understand who's saying what, who needs what, etc. So let's move on to a little bit more kind of sophisticated people. So we've kind of got this inverted U-shaped person, but we could really go with any kind of shape. So I could use a rectangle, I could use a triangle, I could use a kind of an oval, or there's this peanut kind of person, and I sometimes feel like this peanut kind of person. All right. Now, what really helps is if you think about the human dimension. So what sometimes helps me is if I want to draw a little bit more sophisticated person, we've got necks. And on my little inverted U people, because I'm working so fast, I don't really care about the neck. But when I work with these people, you know, I can just give them a neck. And all of a sudden you can see it starts reflecting the human body a little bit more. All right, then if we look at legs, we tend to draw our stick figure legs much shorter than what they should be. All right, so I want to draw the leg and I want to carry on a little bit further than what I usually would have gone. All right, so my feet here gives me an idea of stance. So let's say I'm going to let this person, you know, kind of jump a little bit in the air. All right, so kind of she's jumping off the ground. Now, if I imagine the ground to be there, I can give it very easily, I can give it some motion by doing that. All right, and if I imagine she's jumping off the ground, you know, I can now, by just adding a few lines there, actually imagine she's jumping. All right, I can also, you know, create, so that person's standing like that. Okay, you can see it looks a little bit uncomfortable. This one is standing that way. Okay, so just by changing the direction of my feet, I can create a whole different feeling. And then again with my arms, Now I need to imagine this person's facing that way, so the arms will kind of go that way then. Okay, this person, you know, maybe they've just had a great idea. They're putting their hand in the air, and let's say we draw a little light bulb above them, and, you know, they've just had a fantastic idea, and that hand's going there. All right. Or, you know, if we want to point a certain direction, you know, this one is saying, you know, you did something wrong. He's pointing to that one. This one's maybe just, you know, jumping with their hands. And that one is quite angry there with the hand in the side. All right, you get the idea. Any questions about people? Let me quickly, happy for you to chat in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and just ask some questions about the people side of things. All right, so I think it was Natasha or someone mentioned earlier, you know, how do you give your people a little bit more dimension? So, you know, I think what's really important, I often forget to draw my ground lines, you know, and that really helps when you put your person on some ground. So let me quickly just do a new one here. So let's say I have a person here. I'm going to put them behind a desk. All right, so we put them behind a desk. Okay, so let's call this customer service. Okay, and I'm putting them behind a desk, and they're kind of sitting there happily. All right, can give them some hair, not necessary, but we can give them some hair. All right, so now I want to add some dimension to that person. And what's really cool, and what we don't nearly often use enough, is gray. So I use a lot of gray in my sketches, and I'll show you some of my articles that I sketchnoted. But what's important for this is, if I want to give this person some dimension, I need to imagine, you know, what side is the sun coming from. And then draw my shadows as if there's a sun in this picture. All right, so I want to give this little man's body a little bit more dimension. So I'm going to go with my gray, and I'm going to just draw inside his body just a little bit, and my gray is a bit too thick there, so let me just go for that. Okay, and I need a bit darker color there. All right, so there I've just given his body a little bit of more dimension inside there, and I can carry on and just make it a bit darker. All right, so immediately, you know, my person starts getting more dimension if I do it with that guy, with that one. So you can easily see the difference that that's making. All right, then, you know, very often in my sketches, I would just do a little bit of gray along the face or along the desk. Okay, and then I might want to, let's say, color in my customer service there, something like that. So if I go back to my group of people, which was a really cool little exercise there, and let's just go for the black pen. So if I've got my group of people, give them some eyes. They're kind of sitting in the same meeting, but not all looking at the same place. And I go back there by very quickly just doing a gray little line inside there. I can give them some dimension. All right, does that answer the earlier question about just giving them a little bit of oomph? All righty, then what's really nice, because we work so much with people, there's all kind of things that you can do to illustrate how a person is feeling. So if we just go back, and I'm just going to go back to the face. All right, so if we imagine our person's face, right? We imagine our person's face and our typical dimensions. We just divide it like that. All right. We would want, you know, our eyes kind of here on that middle line. And then if we imagine another middle line there, we would want our mouth kind of, so our nose there and our mouth kind of on that middle line there. All right, so that's about the dimensions. And you can go with, again, very, very little detail, but you can add to the person all kinds of things that give expression. All right, so if I look at, you know, this person, okay, and I just do that, you know, he might be questioning stuff. If I look at this person, just give them some eyes and I make the eyebrows like that. Looks pretty kind of weird and unhappy. I do it like that and I create eyebrows like that. Very different expression, but I can also do things that go outside of the head. All right. So if I do this, okay, that person might be in love. All right. If I do this, you know, that person might have just had a really great idea. So there's a lot of things around the person that you can use that'll indicate what's actually going on in their minds. That one might be having a question there. You know, this one, you know, might be feeling kind of depressed at the moment and they've got some dark clouds hanging above them. All right, do you get the idea around the faces? So, you know, we can also, with very little detail, we could fill in some hair. But again, it depends. If you're sitting in a meeting, I tend to kind of capture the thoughts, capture the ideas. And then as I find, and I think it's Malika who said my attention drifts, you know, I'm starting to do to-do lists. I'm thinking, what are we going to eat tonight? You know, what is that thing that I needed to remember? You know, then I would focus on what the people are saying. But I'd, for example, start kind of coloring in hair. I'm still kind of in the moment. My attention's not drifting. I'm listening to what people are saying, but I'm actually focusing on kind of that part of the discussion. So I find that doodling to be quite calming and to help me stay in the moment. All right. There's a great little exercise. I'm just going to quickly see if I can find that exercise for you. You know, where you can practice different faces. I'm just going to quickly share. Let me just see. I'm going to see. It's an exercise by Austin Kleon. And I will see if I can share this with you as well. Just a great little exercise. And I'm just going to open it here for you. This really helped me to get used to how to draw faces. And I want to see just, where is that image? Kind of clicked away from it now. Okay, so here's a Pinterest version of it. Okay, let's see if it takes us now to the actual document. All right, so what's really cool about this little exercise is by taking different shapes here. So if I go back to my sketching, if I do this and I work with this grid and I say, all right, I want a happy face, an unhappy face, and a neutral kind of smile. Okay, and I divide this up into a grid. All right. And here I have nothing. Here I have a nose, and I have eyes and a nose. All right. So I'm going to do this. I'm just going to fill that in like that, like that. This one, I'm going to have my nose. I'm going to have a smile, unhappy, and like that. So that you can get used to creating just different versions of the face. And then I can add all kinds of interesting things there, like, you know, the eyebrows, happy, and like that. So I can very quickly generate different kinds of faces. So I'm going to find this original exercise, and I'll also copy that into an email for you. All right, you're happy with the different components. Okay, so can I give you a bit of a challenge? All right, you've got your pen and paper with you. I'm going to give you a little bit of a challenge. So I want you to draw yourself as a stick figure, and draw yourself doing the most favorite thing that you can think of doing over a long weekend. All right, and if you're comfortable with that, I'm going to give you a minute or so, very little detail, and if you're comfortable, you know, you can, if you have a camera, you can switch on your camera and just share your sketch. All righty, so I'll share with you, and then whoever wants to go next can just hold up their picture to their camera. So I think this week has been an incredibly busy week for us. I haven't been outside a lot this week. You know, we worked quite long hours. And I think, you know, my goal for this weekend is just to sit outside on the grass with some kind of a pillow propped up behind me and just kind of drink in the sun. I'm hoping we're going to have like a late afternoon picnic outside, just to get the kids and ourselves outside. All right, who wants to go next? See Howard and his daughters drawing away there. All right, anybody else wants to show us what you've done?
Okay, I'll show you.
All right, Yvonne, go.
You beat me to it.
Oh, that's perfect. Yvonne, go.
Oh, no. I'm looking at reading a book, bit of self-care, and just appreciating nature with a flower in my hair.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. All right, we'll come back to your hand. Natasha, share with us.
So there is myself enjoying a glass of wine.
Oh, stunning. Excellent.
I gave myself eyebrows and I looked evil.
Well, that's the thing that you can practice. We can practice all sides of ourselves, eh? But I think again, it's about you know, with so little lines, there's actually, you know, expression in that little figure, and it doesn't look particularly evil to me. She looks quite happy. All right, well done. Well done. Stunning. Okay, Johan, you want to go? All right, what are you doing, Johan?
Just in the kitchen, chilling and cooking away.
Oh, nice. I like that knife you've got there. All right, who else? Malika, you want to share with us?
Mine's for some reason not showing up.
Oh, shame, no problem. If you hold your paper a little bit closer to the camera, let's just see. Johan loves those backgrounds. Oh, I see. As soon as you hold it closer, then we can't see it. Okay, tell us, just describe to us what you did.
So I just drew myself reading because I love reading. And I need to catch up on that this weekend.
Oh, that sounds amazing. That sounds great. I'm quite a lazy reader, so I thought, well, maybe I'll do one of those audio books this weekend. But it is very different if you just kind of lie down with a book. So enjoy that. All right, let's hear from Howard. What him and his little girl, they
Hey,
just
show. All right.
Yeah, I
There's
can't
a lot.
see.
Oh no. So there's a lot going on in the beach. There's the sun. There's a man running. That's all. Everybody having a good time.
Oh, stunning. Oh, stunning.
That's the waves.
Oh, I see your daughter's creating more waves there, hey? That's stunning.
Say hello, baby. Say hello there. No.
Say hello to us. Oh, she can't hear us.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
she's so pretty.
Here.
Oh, stunning.
Thank you. Oops.
All righty. Okay, so that gives you just an idea of kind of the basic shapes. Now, what I really struggled with, and I'll show you some examples of what I've done for conferences, but what I really struggled with was the shape and how to group my information. So if we go back to my example here, you know, very often, and just gonna go back here. So very often, you know, I'd start making notes and I'll make some, you know, I'll draw some things here, and then, you know, I might have a relating topic there, and, you know, I'll say, okay, so, you know, what is our, and then what is our project status there, and I might use kind of a traffic light system, and then it gets quite messy. So, you know, what I've been using and how I think about making notes is very much like a magazine. So if you look at a normal magazine, a magazine works in columns, you know, and sometimes my columns, you know, I have a shorter thing there, I have a longer thing there, and a shorter one there. And sometimes, you know, I have a longer, I have a kind of a wider spread there. So it really does help. If I know I'm going to have 3 people in a meeting, you know, sometimes it does help, you know, if you take your normal page and you actually divide it up into 3 and say, all right, so, you know, I've got 3 people, and I'm gonna just jot down what are the things they're saying. Or if I know I've got 3 project streams, you know, I might say, you know, let's just you know, divide the project into streams. Or I might say, you know, if I know I'm going to have a timeline, you know, then I draw a timeline like this, saying, okay, I've got March, April, May. And if there's actions that need to be done, I would say, all right, so here we need to plan. And I might go with a little icon. So it depends what you're talking about. If I have no idea what's going to happen in the meeting, very often I would go with something like this, and it's a little bit unfair because it's kind of easier for me because I'm working on my iPad at the moment. But I would then kind of just do a mind map. So I'll start in the middle saying we are going to talk about you know, our online training. And then I would just branch out and do things like that. Or I would just kind of start saying, all right, so we need our online training. We need to create some videos. Before that, we need a storyboard of different things. You know, then once we've created the video, we need to go and load it into the platform. And what's really important, if you draw something and it doesn't look like anything that you wanted to draw, you know, I sometimes do this. You know, say, okay, that's a frog. So just label it. Don't worry about it too much. If you feel you've gotten it wrong, nobody's going to know what that is. You know, just label it. So that might be, you know, kind of dog. All right, so just label it. Then when you use text in your meeting notes, what's quite important is that you don't write too long. So, you know, if I say project status is green, I also have usually a lot of colored pencils with me because that does help. Then I don't have to write out green. I can actually just quickly grab a green Sharpie or a pencil. Versus if I'm writing in the structure and I say project status green, immediately that writes easier. So you can also use typography, try and write in shorter blocks. That just makes it a lot easier. So there's kind of this typical, you know, center topic, and that branches out, and I can link blocks to that. Also, if I've done quite messy work, after a meeting, I would just go and circle it, just like that, and say, okay, all of that relates to project status. So I think what's really nice about this is there isn't a lot of rules. It's more about starting to try stuff. In the beginning, you tend to write a lot. I think some of the earlier comments, I mean, if I type minutes for a meeting, usually it's pages and pages and pages. And the thing that happens in one's brain when you're typing while you're listening, I think your attention just dwindles. Whereas if you just make a few notes, and you literally use icons. So I use icons like that. When I'm jotting down things I must do, I usually use little blocks like this. Okay, so I would say send report, set up meeting, and I'll have a little check boxes there for me to afterwards go through my notes and just check what I've done. What really is cool as well is if you make these check boxes slightly kind of multi-dimensional. So if you look on you know, the online platforms like Take a Lot, you know, they have amazing, you know, Sharpies that you can order. They probably don't have them right at the moment, but I literally have like a stationery cupboard. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen with you quickly. But my stationery looks something like this. And I don't take all of this to meetings, but you can just get an idea of, you know, my different pens. These, if you use flip charts, these Neuland pens are just absolutely amazing. And I've got a whole set of this. And then the kind of second best for me is just like getting colored Sharpies. And make sure when you use the Sharpies that you have a book that doesn't kind of bleed through. Otherwise, it's gonna bleed through. And then as far as books are concerned, I just love moleskins. At the moment, this is what I'm working with. I've got my iPad and I've got a pencil, and that's how I managed to share my screen with you so that you can see what I'm doing at the moment. All right, so let's get some questions, and I'm very happy to help you with kind of if you want to give me some challenges, or if you think of a business concept that you'd like me to give you an idea of, we can do that. And then I want to go back to kind of Dan Rome's test and see how we've done. All right, so in the chat, cool. Thanks, Howard. All right, what else would you like to know? All right, so if there's no questions, I'm going to quickly show you. Let me just go to my Pinterest boards, and I'm going to quickly show you the geek-like stuff that I absolutely love doing. So let me just find, where's my Sketchnote? As you can see, I'm quite a Pinterest geek. Yeah, I've got a board where I've got tons of stick people. I love these little guys. You can just kind of just color their bodies, and all of a sudden you've got like really, really interesting people, and they're doing all kinds of interesting things. Here you can see kind of a guidance just around the dimensions that you have in those little stick bodies. Here you can see again really good illustrations that help you see where your joints are. Otherwise, when we draw our stick people and their joints don't bend in the right place, that's when the inner critic says, no, this looks crap. So there's tons of stuff like this that really helps you understand even your stick people, just getting the dimensions right for them. All right, so I want to also show you, so if you go on Pinterest, you'll just find like really amazing stuff and just get great ideas. Here you can see just a great illustration of and there's stunning people to follow. This gives you a great idea of just two people shaking hands, and it shows you step by step how those people are shaking hands. All right, so there was another one that I want to quickly show you where they take really kind of hard business concepts and they make it like super, super easy. So let me just find that sketchnoting board. This is, you can see food is high on my list of priorities here in my Pinterest. Some origami. There we go. Sketch thinking. All right, so you can see here's an amazing collection, and I absolutely love this collection here. It's called, if you go and search on Pinterest, you'll find it when you say ways to draw. All right, and I just love looking at these concepts. So here's a way to draw attention. This is a way to draw up with little balloons, and you can see the stick people are very, very rudimentary. Things like more difficult concepts like change. I mean, look at those little arrows. 3 arrows going one way and then one going up. There's an illustration of change. The little fish, the plants growing. Here's effort. So this gives me a lot of ideas around taking difficult concepts and really simplifying it. So I just absolutely love these little images. If you look at time, how to illustrate time. Look at how easy that is done. Illustrate time. Here, being productive. The little hands with all the things that person's doing. So I just love kind of looking at this collection, getting ideas. And some of it's quite kind of difficult. Curiosity, things going viral, location, and this really helps one build up your visual library of concepts. Then there's some great books, as I mentioned, Dan Rome. Eva Lotta Lamb is another person to take a look take a look at. She does amazing, amazing. We've had the fortune of attending a workshop of hers. She lives in Johann in Germany. All right. And then there's the BrandLove, which is another, they do amazing courses overseas as well. And I bought this book, and this book is just filled with kind of different ideas. I'm just going to show you the faces again there. Depending on where you put the eyebrows, you can get very, very different emotions. So if you are on Pinterest, or if you're happy to register on Pinterest, go and look for BrandLove and go and look for just other inspiration in terms of sketch notes that people have done. So before we get to that test, I want to quickly show you. So again, when I look at you know, an article that intrigues me, I will then go and quickly sketch note that article, and that really helps me just get a good attention span while I'm doing that article. I'm going to quickly show you one of the, so here's a document I did with online meeting tips. And you can see it's not artistic in nature. I haven't paid a lot of attention to the drawings, but I could very quickly summarize what I think is really important when you meet online. And then I share it. And usually on LinkedIn, when I share these sketches, they get a lot more attention than what I've ever kind of imagined. So whether I'm reading an article, whether I'm watching a TED talk, I would sit and just practice different concepts. And I would say this little sketch here probably took me less than 10 minutes to do. So it's not about the artistic value. It's actually, can I get the concept out there?
Can we see the sketch, please, Chantal?
Oh my word! Thank you for telling me that my screen is not shared. Oh. There we go. Thank you. All right, great stuff. So, so you can see here, very, very rudimentary, not really neat, and it's just literally little line sketches. That's supposed to be a water cooler, you know. So I think just in communicating, and I think what I've seen definitely from meetings with clients is if I send them a sketch of the meeting after the meeting, you know, they actually love it because it's so different to sending them just normal minutes. And sometimes I get to their desks months afterwards, and I've actually printed it and put it up on the cubicle. So it just makes it a lot more interesting. All right, so I want to play you just that that last bit of that video. So let me just get my screens ready here again. And this will just illustrate to you that our brains consume information just very differently when we work with imagery versus with words. I really do believe we use a different part of our brain. So let me share my screen, and we're going to quickly look at the results of this Dan Roan test. And I'll send you the link. I'll put the link to this video in the chat, and I'll also send it to you in an email, because I do think it's worthwhile that you actually watch the whole one. All right, so I'm just finding where he shares the outcome of this, and I marked the timeline, so let's look at that.
35 minutes ago, I shared with you 30 random pictures. I'm going to show you those pictures again now. Now I'm going to show you two pictures. I would like you to tell me, right or left, which is the one we saw before? Which one did we see before? That's why we use pictures, 100%. Our memory.
All right, so that gives you just a very quick result of, you know, that little experiment there, and I will send you that link. But our brains just remember so much better, and that was 30 images in you know, just flipping them up one after the next. And did you get some of them right? How did you do with that?
Yeah, I got all of them right.
All of them right. Amazing, amazing. So I think if we can, and I do think if you look at the last, especially the last 3 weeks, I don't know if your inboxes have been going as crazy as mine, but every company that I've ever engaged with just have been sending marketing campaigns to my inbox almost every 2 or 3 days. And to cut through that clutter, you know, I think really, if you want to differentiate yourself in your career and how you show up in meetings and how you communicate, this is a really powerful tool. And if I look at, you know, my production time in terms of preparing for a conference, if I sketch something, I might do it on paper first, plan it out, then do it on my iPad, or do it on my iPad and kind of play around with it a little bit. But I've probably cut my production time in terms of preparing proposals, preparing for conference presentations down by, you know, 30% of what it used to be. And now that I'm not so critical anymore about what I create, I take that sketch, I put it in Prezi, I animate it, and I get my stuff out there very quickly. And you know, I get to conferences and there's people that have paid agencies to prepare amazing presentations for them. And my stuff looks, you know, kind of, you know, unpolished, but because it's so different, you know, I get a lot of attention. I once, at a conference, I was using an image and I had, you know, a very kind of dysfunctional stick figure fairy standing by a grave. And the title of it was, my give a shit fairy has died. And, you know, people love that image. And I probably was talking about something and I just left the image up. So, you know, the next day in an online publication, there was an article about me with this photograph of me with this big image of my give a shit fairy has just died. You know, and I looked at the image and I said, "Ooh, that doesn't look so great," but it made such an impression. So in terms of differentiation, in terms of cutting through the noise, and in terms of remembering things, I would really say, you know, go for it, try it. And we're going to try and run this session every Friday so that we can expose people more to it. And we can kind of come up with a little bit of a jam where we draw different concepts. All right, any questions? How did you enjoy this? How was this for you? You were a little bit more kind of advanced, man.
Yeah. So I used to doodle a lot when I was a kid in school. I would sit at the back of the classroom and I would just doodle away instead of like listening to the lecturer or the professor. Hence, yeah. The doodler in me came out. I really enjoyed it, especially when you shared case studies on Pinterest. I think it's a very strong visual repository of inspiration. Yeah, inspiration of what can you do with visual note taking. Especially when you said typography plus symbolism or like iconography. I think that's really strong. So if you're also into typography plus that, I think it's going to be a cheeky combination.
Yeah. And you know, I think the side benefit for me is I've got an incredibly busy mind. So you know, I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'd have a to-do list and I'd have like 10 ideas of how to revolutionize the world. So, you know, when I'm in meetings, I struggle to stay in that moment. So this for me is almost a mindfulness. You know, it's almost a mindfulness tool. I've almost integrated this mindfulness mechanism into my meetings, and that just quiets my mind a bit. So and in the beginning
100%.
I was so critical of my drawings, and also to practice to let that go, because I think from a personal growth perspective, if I can let some of that criticism go, you know, I can do that with other parts of my life as well.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with you with simplifying or comprehending complex things. If you would just illustrate them, you would kind of your mind would try to digest what is that context being communicated to you. Yeah, and I've experimented that early last week with a teaching online course by General Assembly, and yeah, I started doodling away around that, and yeah, very technical academic stuff became simplified, yeah, through doodling. Yeah.
Stunning. So then all that's left for me to do, if you have no more questions, yes, Johan?
No, I just want to make a remark. I think a valuable piece of advice for everybody that helped me a lot is that the doodle or the image is just a placeholder for data. It's never about art. It's not supposed to look good. If people can link the data that was supposed to sit behind the doodle, then you've been successful. And I think that the moment you start thinking of the image as a placeholder, then that self-critic starts going away.
Absolutely.
Sure, that's very valuable. Thank you, Johan.
Stunning. So all that's left for me to do is to say thank you so much for joining us today. If you find interesting resources, please post it on our Facebook page. If you do interesting drawings and you want to share that, you know, post it on our Facebook page. And if you like this session, please join us again next week. And we are going to explore kind of taking different topics from next week and just jamming around that specific topic. All right.
Thank you.
So have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for joining us. Take care.
Thank you, Chantal. Thanks, everyone.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Yeah, and you, Howard.